Meeting posted?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Commission will now take up matters to do with applications for all alcoholic beverages, special one-day licenses, and also includes beer and wine only, or either one. Applications by Antonio Aguilar of the Holy Ghost Society for events at Holy Ghost Park, 65 Village Street. A wedding reception for Saturday, April 18th, 2009, from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. The Queen's Ball, so Saturday, April 25th, from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. A wedding reception for Saturday, May 2nd, from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. A Jack and Jill for Saturday, May 9th, from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. Wedding reception for Saturday, May 16th, from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. Also, the Holy Ghost Society feast for Sunday, May 31st, 2009, from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m., or 12 midnight. This one would involve an outdoor activity. Holy Trinity Feast is a 3-day weekend. It's starting Friday evening, June 5th, 2009, from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight, also outdoors. The feast will continue on Saturday, June 6th, from 2 p.m. to 1 a.m., and outdoor activities involved. Holy Trinity Feast will also conclude on Sunday, June 7th, 2009, from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., also outdoor activities. And last, for the Holy Ghost Society, will be the Sweet 16 event for Saturday, June 13th, from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. Also, application by Luann Haggerty of St. Michael's School for all alcoholic beverages for an event Saturday, May 9th, 2009, from 5:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. The event is an auction to benefit the St. Michael's School at 21 6th Street, Lowell. The venue for the alcohol from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. would be the school hall, and then guests and friends would move to the church hall from 6:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. That is across the street from the school.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not finished.
Yep.
Excuse me. Also, we have special one-day license applications for malt beverages and wine only, or either one. John Dyson of the Merrimack Repertory Theater for theatrical performances at Liberty Hall at 50 East Merrimack Street, 1/2 hour prior to and during intermission for the following dates, starting with April the 23rd, the 24th, 25th, 26th, 29th, and 30th of this year, and that's 6 dates. An application by Crystal Arnott for Friday, May 15, 2009, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The event is the Western Ave Studios Stories from the Shelter at the Western Avenue Studios on Western Avenue. That's for beer and wine only, or either one. And last is Allegra Williams for Saturday, May 23rd, 2009, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's a beer and wine event. It's for the event at the Homeless Benefits Concert at the Revolving Museum at 22 Shattuck Street.
Okay, if you'd be kind enough to step up and introduce yourself.
Antonio Aguilar, the Holy Ghost Society.
Okay? Any one of you step up. Each of you step up to the mic.
John Dyson, Merrimack Repertory Theater.
Okay?
Luann Haggerty, St. Michael's School.
Okay?
Crystal Arnott, Lowell Humane Society for the Western Avenue.
Okay?
Allegra Williams from the Revolving Museum.
Okay. How many of you have been here before? Okay, well, we've got 2 that haven't been, okay? Let's just, are you a member of the Board of Directors at Holy? You are. Okay, I noticed that you've got the Holy Trinity Feast. That always seems to be a tough weekend, okay? And, you know, it's getting nice, and people are outside their houses now, you know, and you're gonna go till 1 o'clock in the morning and midnight. You've got to be considerate of your neighbors. You're familiar with this. You're going to have a policeman on site. You're familiar with the sound meter. Walk to the end of the park. Make sure the neighbors are not calling. I mean, that's probably the only real time we've had problems with the park is during that 1 3-day weekend. It seems that maybe the sound goes from Friday night and progresses a little louder as it goes the weekend. So we ask that you be attentive to that, okay? Luann, that's inside. John? Okay. I guess Allegra and Crystal are my 2 subjects today. It is important, young ladies, that you understand that this is your license. This license does not belong to St. Margaret's School. It does not belong to the museum. It does not belong to the studio. It belongs to you and you alone. Okay, so one, I would make sure that if it is approved, I'd have the license right there so it can easily be seen. If a police officer or someone says, "Where's your license?" Put it right on the wall, right where they can see it, okay? Number two, if you do not plan on having a policeman around, I would make sure that my telephone was keyed to the police department. Even if you think, for some strange reason, that somebody has come in and had a few drinks ahead of time, or they might be on some medication or something, and there's something about it you don't like, call the police then. Do not wait until you have to get them there. They will come in, they will be your friend, they will help you, and that's exactly, and you know what? You won't see them in court 6 months later. Because the people that are going to cause you problems are not going to be here testifying the day that you're before us. The people that make too much noise at Holy Ghost Park will never show up for these hearings. They leave this guy out. See his hair? See that haircut? That's a result of him coming in here too often, okay? And you don't want to look like that, let me tell you. All right, so you gotta be ever conscious. You know, a lot of times we get busy, we're not paying attention, we let somebody step up and you can be my bartender. Well, you know what? One for me, two for you. One for me. All of a sudden, this guy's blitzed, and he has no idea of what he's doing. And you have a responsibility to make sure that everybody's over 21, and you have a responsibility to make sure that someone's not stepping up and buying a drink for somebody that's 20 years old. Oh, let him have a sombrero, it's okay. That person that said that and the person that bought that, they're gonna fall down the stairs and hit their head, or God forbid, get in an accident. And you know what? That person's never gonna stand up and say, you know what, it's my fault, I bought the drink for her or him. And God forbid they should have to go to a funeral home or something after that. You know, it's serious business. It's serious business. It's your license. You're the ones that are stepping forward. You're the ones that are going to control the situation. And that even goes for the Merrimack Theater. Because they go out to eat first, they have a couple of bubblies. Hey, you know, we're going to go to the theater, you know. Then they get to the theater. Well, when they get in trouble and they get stopped, you know what the police officer says? Or the judge is going to say, "Where did you have your last drink?" "Oh, I was at the theater. I was up to Merrimack Theater. We had a couple of wines in between the show." And all of a sudden, you know, somebody's in trouble. I'm sure you've all read the regulations and everything. Do you have any questions at all? Anything, any doubts whatsoever? Okay?
No questions.
I have no questions, and I'll make a motion to approve the
I'll
licenses.
second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. I hope you all make $1 million. And I don't want to see you back here. Till next year.
Commission will now take up the application for a public amusement license for a fair for the St. Margaret's School. Reverend Raymond P. Benoit is the pastor for Wednesday, April 22nd, Thursday, April 23rd, Friday, April 24th, and Saturday, April 25th, 2009. The event will take place on the school grounds at 486 Stevens Street. The hours for Wednesday to Friday would be 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday would be 12 noon to 10 p.m. Carol Limit is here as a representative for the school. Mr. Chairman, also just point out that the fair will include mechanical rides that require public safety approval. And apparently there is record of that with the application. And insurance, which includes the city of Lowell as being co-insured for the activities on the school grounds.
Hi, Carol.
Hi.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Carol Wemmett from St. Margaret's School.
Okay. You've had the rides all inspected?
Yes.
You have, okay. And this is inside the school?
In the grounds and the
Yeah.
inside fence.
Around
yes.
the, okay. You've done you've done this for
It's our 15th year, yes.
a few years. The wild and crazy bunch, think it's all right? The captain, he's looking at me, I'm wondering.
Well, we have had to keep an eye on Carol over the years, but I think we have a handle on it this year.
Okay. Make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
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 You're all set, thank you. Next on the agenda.
Commission will now take up applications for a special events permit for amplified outdoor public entertainment. First for Diane Tester of the Revolving Museum for Saturday, May 9th, 2009, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's a family festival at the Harmony Park across from St. Patrick's Church, which is at Cross and Cork Streets. There will be a sound system for acoustic music and public speaking. Ashley Dizzen of the Robert F. Kennedy's Children's Action Corps for Saturday, April 25th, 2009, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the JFK Civic Plaza, Arcand Drive, a sound system for musical groups and poetry reading. Antonia Aguilar of the Holy Ghost Society for outdoor events at Holy Ghost Park at 65 Village Street, a sound system for disc jockey for Sunday, May 31st, 2009, from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., the Holy Ghost Society Feast, a sound system for disc jockey Friday, June 5th, from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight for the Holy Trinity Feast, a sound system for a band Saturday, June 6th, 2009, from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight, also the Holy Trinity Feast. And last is the sound system for a band for Sunday, June 7th, 2009, from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., Holy Trinity Feast.
Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Diane Tester, the Revolving Museum.
Ashley Deason, Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corps.
Antonio Aguiar, the Holy Ghost Society.
Okay. I think I've said enough on you're gonna have an outdoor band, Tony. Somebody's gotta be there. These guys, give it a little more bass, it doesn't, okay? I don't know the configuration of how you're gonna set up the band, but, to have them facing away, having the speakers away from the neighborhood might be a wise thought, just an idea. The rest of this here, as far as 6 to 10, you're in the downtown area. I don't see anything here that could cause any problems. Do you, Brian?
No, I think everything's good. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
Make sure you use that sound monitor at the Holy Ghost Park, though.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commission will now take up an application for a license for entertainment and a licensed restaurant for a malt beverage and wine restaurant licensee at 192 Middlesex Street. Taveras Infante, Inc., doing business as La Diferencia Restaurant. Jose Infante is the manager of record. The business holds a beer and wine restaurant license, and it's at 192 Middlesex Street. Mr. Infante would like to have live music, disc jockey, and a jukebox entertainment within the building, within the restaurant.
Introduce yourself for the record, please.
My name is Jose Infante from La Diferencia Restaurant, 192 Middlesex.
Okay. Jose, just familiarize me. Where are you? Where are you
On Middlesex?
Yeah.
It's around downtown.
I'm sorry.
Like around 2 blocks from the new parking lot.
Okay,
New
you're 2
parking.
blocks down.
Yeah, up.
Up.
Yeah.
It's like right across from the Transitional Living Center.
You're on the opposite across from the transitional.
Yes.
Okay. There's a rooming house there too.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. All right. You're stepping into that gray area, okay? To run a restaurant and to do what you're doing is difficult enough. Now you're going to be, have music, and, there are people living there that want to stay overnight and they want to get a night's sleep in the rooming house or in the, the center across the way. You're going to have to be considerate of the neighbors on this.
Yes.
A lot of times we get into it, it's just like my trying to talk to them about Holy Ghost Park. Folks don't realize you hire a band or I think bands today, they think the louder it is, the better it is. I don't know. I mean, I never could understand what they're playing anyways. But they crank it up so much, the walls are vibrating, and you're saying, this is music. I guess. I don't know. Okay? I'm kind of a Johnny Cash fan myself, you know, real. But anyways, so the point being that you're in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's people all around you. You're gonna have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Like you said, you're in a neighborhood, it's a tough neighborhood, but we're glad to see businesses there. You know, things are picking up there, and I hope you guys do well, so.
Yeah, thanks.
Just make sure if Chairman Bayless goes in there, you play Ring of Fire, all right? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
You're all
Thank
set. You're welcome. Next on the agenda.
Members of the commission, there was a hearing was scheduled this afternoon for an application by the Backpage Jazz and Comedy Club LLC, doing business as the Backpage. Robert J. Ramirez being the manager of the LLC. This would be an application for an all-alcoholic beverage restaurant license, 15 Kearney Square, for unit number 2. Mr. Ramirez has filed a communication earlier in the week to request that the matter be postponed. Realizing the circumstances of the matter of a public hearing and the fact that there was a legal notice published in anticipation of the public hearing, he is prepared and has forwarded an additional filing fee to include the advertisement for a new legal if the request for the rescheduling would be approved. In anticipation of doing so, the License Commission Office has scheduled a publication of that legal notice for the April 17th local newspaper. And also, again, presumption being that the License Commission will allow for a public hearing on that for April 30th.
Okay, but it was published.
There was a legal notice published on April the 3rd in the Lowell Sun newspaper
That's
for a
what I think.
hearing
Open it up.
Yeah.
today.
Okay, I think what we're gonna do then is see if there's anyone here that came to speak
sure.
on it, if that's all right.
Yeah, by all means.
And if we can make note of that in case they can't come back on the 30th. Okay, is there anyone here to speak on the Backpage Comedy LLC? On the liquor license or entertainment licenses, various, anyone here to speak on it? Anyone here to speak on it? No one's acknowledged? Therefore, that'll be a continued hearing now. We'll make a motion to continue the hearing till April 30th.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Commission will now take up a matter of a public hearing regarding allegations of misconduct as charged by the Superintendent of Police, Kenneth E. LaValle, against the licensee known as Jumbo Enterprises, Inc., doing business as Acre Sports Bar, Dennis R. Mercier, manager, all alcoholic beverages restaurant licensee at 282-284 Fletcher Street.
Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Attorney Catherine Flood here on behalf of Dennis Mercier, the manager. I'm here today to request a continuance. I just picked up this file. We had a sudden death in our family this morning, and I request that this be put over to the next hearing date.
Okay.
I'll make the motion too.
Just for the record, is Dennis still the manager of record?
As of record, Dennis is the manager, yes.
Okay.
They had come before this board to have it transferred.
Right.
But it still has not been officially approved through the state. That's my belief. This is not my file.
Right.
I'm just stepping in at this moment.
Okay. Motion to postpone.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Thank you. When's the next hearing date?
April 30th?
Okay, thank
Is
you.
that a good day or?
That's fine.
Okay.
So if I understand the License Commission action at this point regarding the complaint that filed against the Superintendent of Police against Jumbo Enterprises, Inc., you've continue the hearing, postpone the hearing as of schedule say, but continue it to the meeting of April the 30th.
Right.
Do you wish to have the License Commission office send written notification to the licensee to that effect? Is that,
Please do.
okay, now, all of the issues regarding to possible action, should there be any disciplinary action taken by the license board at public hearing on this matter, as far as like in the case of suspension, revocation, or even the consideration of affecting the hours of operation, all to be duly noted in the next notice?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Commission will now take up the hearing on the allegation of misconduct as charged by the Superintendent of Police, Kenneth Lavallee, against the Europa Cafe Inc., Joseph Samayo, manager, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 547 Central Street.
Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Attorney Michael Zane for the Europa Cafe.
Have you read the
Officer Rain, Lowell Police Department.
Okay. Have you read the complaint, Counselor?
Yes, we have.
Do you want it read into the record?
No, that's not necessary.
Okay. Captain Webb, if you could just give him a brief overview of the complaints so that the people...
Mr. Chairman, Officer Rain is here if you'd like to hear from
Okay.
Officer Rain.
Sir, gentlemen, Officer Rain, Lowell Police Department. I currently operate in Car 9, which is the back Central Street, and on March 22nd at 12:21 in the morning, I was on routine patrol and stopped by 547 Central Street, Cafe Europa, to do a business check, which we commonly do to see that this safe exit of parties that take place there. We were aware of an under 21 event going on. Like I stated, at 12:21, I arrived with my partner to note hundreds, in my estimation, hundreds of youths exiting and sticking around in the area. They were encouraged to leave by myself. There was one altercation where an individual was arrested, which in turn incited all of the other youths to leave. It required me to request the assistance of many assets in the city, whereas 11 cruisers showed up, which resulted in 3 more arrests. And again, this happened at 12:21 in the morning, and I was told by my supervisors that this event should be ending and people should be gone from the premises at 12.
Okay. Thank you. Counselor?
I don't know how the Superintendent of Police jumps to the conclusion that the Europa must have been violating an agreement that the Europa Cafe had with this License Commission. When this officer on routine patrol encounters what he referred to just now as an altercation, his report, although, indicates that he saw a gentleman yelling at somebody inside a motor vehicle out in front of somewhere on Central Street, and that he asked that person to leave. That person responded to him colorfully, if you will, with a gesture and some words that ultimately resulted in his arrest. Apparently, right after that, the brother of the initial arrestee went to his brother's aid, and he also was arrested because of his conduct. And again, a third person was arrested if you read the report that was enclosed in Superintendent Lavallee's allegations of misconduct, was arrested at the intersection of Central Street and Charles Street, some 633 feet away from my client's premises. And that officer's report, which is enclosed in the package, has that person following that individual walking down the street, and then finally coming to rest in the middle of the intersection and refusing the officer's instructions to get out of the middle of the intersection. and, was rightfully placed under arrest. Yeah, my clients are here. I have not only my clients, I have 3 other individuals. Magda Guzman, who rented the hall that evening for what was, by invitation only, 18-year-old birthday party. She will testify that prior to the party, Mrs. Simeo made it perfectly clear to her that they had the hall until midnight, that the instructions to the DJ were that 11:30 the music stops, the lights go on. There was a security officer hired, his name is Jose Valencia. He is with Madison Security Group. He is also here to testify and will testify that that is exactly what happened. There is another individual who was at the party who will also testify that there was nobody in the premises after midnight. The business was not being conducted. They will further testify that the crowd dispersed, in their opinion, in an orderly fashion off of their premises. They'll also testify that the initial person arrested was not invited to the party, did show up at the party at approximately 10:30 that evening, and was asked to leave, and was not allowed into their premises. And that winds up being the first person arrested. I did note that Officer Rain testified that a lot of assets were called, and the allegations of misconduct do not support that, nor does his report that evening, and nor does the other officers who arrived. I would also point out that there is no allegation that anything the Europa did that evening. There's no negligent service of alcohol. None of these persons were overserved. There's no allegations that everybody was intoxicated. There's no allegations that there was any problem that stemmed from, began in, or anything to do with the Europa Cafe. And that the fact that somebody gets arrested in front of their premises, on the street, 600 feet down the road, and how the chief can feel as though it's their responsibility for these individuals who clearly took action, inappropriate behavior, and that was their decision to do that. It wasn't my client's decision to put them out on the street and have them act in the manner they did. And they did nothing to contribute to how they decided to behave.
Okay, want to have them come up and speak? Sure. Why don't you have your witnesses come up, identify themselves, and, express in their own words.
Hi, I'm Magda Guzman.
Kathleen Gilday.
Okay, Kathleen, what was your...
I attended the party. I was there from the beginning to the end. We were actually the cleanup crew, and we cleaned up around 11:30 after the DJ left. All the kids did disperse from the club. It was mostly family and some kids, but they all dispersed, and everybody was out of the club by 12 o'clock. We had finished cleaning, and we left at 12:10. And we had left, and everything was good, so.
And no one was there.
No one was there.
Okay, and what's your name, please?
Magda Guzman. I was the one having the party.
You're the one that had the party?
My son's birthday party.
Okay.
And I believe the kid that got arrested was not invited. He had no invitation. He had no business there. We escorted him out, which my son asked him to leave.
Okay.
My name is Jose Valencia. I work for Madison Security. I was there the night. I was assignment. I was by 11:30. I just shut down the party. The DJ, I just shut down about 11:30. The music, about 11:50. Everybody was out. Nobody was in the building and parking lot. Everybody was clear.
Were you inside or outside?
I was inside.
You were inside.
It was.
Was the bar opened or closed?
The bar upstairs?
The bar upstairs where they had the party?
They were closed. When everybody was out, the bar was closed.
No, but during the party, was the bar open so people could get a drink?
Yes,
sir. Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions?
I have no questions.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I be heard on behalf
Absolutely.
of the superintendent? Mr. Chairman, the officer's testimony and his report clearly indicate that a crowd was observed leaving the premises at 12:21 a.m. The superintendent is very concerned with the activity at the Europa Cafe. They've been before the commission several times within the past 8 months. They have received minor disciplinary actions in that time. Apparently, these disciplinary actions are having no effect. The management of the Europa Cafe either refuses to monitor their premises or they're incapable at this point of monitoring the premises. There's been several serious incidents, including stabbings, assaults upon police officers that have to respond to this location, and the superintendent requests that you take the strongest possible action at this time in order to provide for the peaceful, excuse me, attitude in the neighborhood and the continued safety of patrons that may frequent the establishment and the safety of the police officers that have to respond there.
Captain, were there any calls that evening from the neighborhood complaining about noise or crowd dispersing from the Europa?
No, none that I'm aware of.
Okay. Who wants to take the lead? Go ahead. Any questions?
What's the current status with this individual that was arrested? The guy that was causing this scene outside? Does anybody know?
I don't know what the outcome of his court appearance was.
Okay.
Commissioner Waker, that individual was arraigned, and his one individual was a minor. He's in the juvenile court.
Okay.
The other individual, his matter, he was arraigned, and he has public defender, and is scheduled to reappear in court sometime next month, I believe May 17th.
Could I ask a question of Officer Rain?
Officer.
Right.
Officer.
You testified that you had you were doing a routine business check?
Yes, sir.
And how many other businesses did you check that evening?
That's logged on the computer-aided dispatch.
Just to the best of your recollection.
7.
Okay.
Some of them, the same business twice.
Okay. And is that a routine that you do every night that you're on duty?
It's common practice, all shifts, all sectors.
Okay. And in the report, it says 100 people, or more than 100, and then you said hundreds. Was it really that? Because it seems like that's a big difference between 100 and 100.
It was definitely more than 100, and as I looked around, the scene got extremely tumultuous. There were many people screaming and pointing and getting very close to us, and I felt threatened, and it just seemed like there were many more people than I at first saw.
Could I just ask, is it Guzman? Yes. How many people were invited to the party?
I would say like 100.
Like 100?
Yes.
And did everybody attend that was
Yes.
invited?
Yes, most
Okay,
of
so it
the
was
people
about
attended,
100?
mostly family.
Okay.
But there were teenagers there. I mean, he is 18.
It was a big crowd?
Yes, and the kid that got arrested that night,
Yeah.
that we escorted out, my son asked him to leave, is because he had prior incidents with my nephew before
Okay.
the party. And that's why he was not invited.
Okay.
Could I ask the officer a couple questions?
Certainly.
Officer Rain, when you arrived, where did you first see the people? In proximity to the Europa?
Exiting the door, sir. There was only about 4 or 5 people immediately when I called off and stated that I was off at a business check, making sure that this under 21 function was ending.
So what you're saying is when you first got there at 12:21, you saw 4 to 5 people, and then afterwards, is that where you saw the mass exodus?
Yes, sir.
Coming from Cafe Europa?
Yes, sir. Coming from the rear down the, I believe it's a walkway or leading into the parking lot.
Okay.
And I've responded there also for other 21 functions in the past, and the concern is that there's massive rows of children on foot just beelining towards the city into Central Street.
Is that the exit that everyone would be coming from that upstairs facility?
I do believe that they exit from the rear, because that's the entrance and the exit. I could be wrong, but that's my assumption, sir.
Okay. And so, again, when you first called at 12:21, there was only the bulk of the people that you saw exiting were exiting after 12:21.
Yes, sir.
Get anything?
No, I mean, I would like to, well, I believe the Samayos, they have had some problems, and a lot of problems. But in this case, it seems like they hired a security guard to clean out the building. It was just 10 days after they started this agreement. Like Attorney Zame said, the individual that was arrested was further down the street than the front of the property. So my first impression is that the Samayos took the right steps to clean out the building. Now, whether they got them completely off the premises, that may be the source of the problem here. Maybe they got them out of the building and not off the premises. I think that could be an issue. But in terms of closing that upstairs function room, it appears to me that they took the proper steps. They hired a security guard. We have witnesses that were actually at the function, that they did get them out of that function room. Like I said, there's a gray area there on the actual licensed premises, but in terms of the agreement that we entered into on March 12th, it appears that they cleared that function room.
If I could just say one thing. Technically, it's not an agreement because you couldn't enter and this may be form over substance, just so it's clear that the quote-unquote agreement was a 2-to-1 vote by the License Commission as a term of a previous finding. So it's essentially, it's a probationary term. It's not an agreement that, you know, there's discretion in. It actually was a condition by the board as part of probation. So it's not technically an agreement.
All right. No, I think it's...
If you look at the letter here,
the
it's...
language out of the letter, which called
out of
it
the
an
letter, it
agreement.
says by agreement between Commissioner Weicker, myself, and Attorney Zane. That's why I was using that language.
Right. No, and I'm just pointing that probably shouldn't, it probably should have said a condition of a previous thing.
No, I recall when we actually went into it, there was a whole issue about using the word suspended for, as opposed to or held in abeyance. We're pretty good on the language.
You have nothing? No, okay.
Actually, let me ask, Mr. Valencia, have you worked at this location before this night?
That was my first time. I was just working there.
Have you worked there since?
Yeah, I just worked one more time.
And was that for a function at the upstairs?
Yes.
And what was that like?
There was another birthday party.
Another birthday party? Okay. And when was that?
There was a last Saturday.
And how did they handle the clearing of people at that point?
At that point, there was a little girl party, and about midnight, the same thing. I'll be back and just tell the DJ 11:30, party's over, music's down. By 11:55, 11:50, something like that, everybody was out of the building. Nobody was in the parking lot, nobody outside.
All right, thanks.
Nothing? Well, you know, I'm looking at it, and I don't want to say a couple of things that bother me, okay? I don't know how many times we've had people come in here and have these under 21 parties with a bar. This is like playing with a vial of nitroglycerin. All you're doing is asking for problems. They had under 21 and the bar was open. I'm not saying that they serve, but I'm just saying just the mere appearance of it, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't show me that they're in control of what they're doing. If they had people that were over the age and were allowed to drink, there would be no reason why they couldn't have said to them, you have to go downstairs to have a drink. All they're serving is soda and, whatnot up here, so we can control it. And many people have done it, and it's worked out. We've had more problems with under 21 parties. And I'm not sure that, did we actually take a stand on that? Do you remember?
Well, it's not, certainly the practice is not condoned by the local board, or had not been condoned and then discouraged when certain businesses were attempting to do such a thing. Typically, when it was in the past, several years ago, the matter would be that a licensee would properly come before the License Commission requesting that they entertain patrons not of legal drinking age at certain times during the week, possibly like a Sunday or a Sunday evening, and that when that request would be made of the licensing board at that time, it was advised to the manager of record, who that person may be, that conceal all alcohol beverages, either by covering the bar area, behind the bar area where typically where the liquor bottles are stored, and that it would be presented in such a way the event itself would be set up such a way that there would be no question on, say, an officer, a police officer from Lowell walking in and realizing, oh, there's an under 21 event, but he could see, or she could see on inspection that there was not an issue of alcohol at that time.
Okay. The other thing is that, they might have cleared the hall, but they all gathered in the main entrance to the Europa is in the back there, up the driveway or the walkway. They might have all just gathered, how kids are, they get done at the party, they're all standing around talking. I refuse to believe that first of all, the police would have not, entered into any arrest or anything of that nature unless it was certainly justified in the trying to control. I mean, this neighborhood has been decimated by this place. It just seems like it goes on and on and on, and I don't think they still don't get it. They still don't seem to get it. If I had to close at 12 at 11 o'clock, I'd be pushing people out the door saying, hey, you know what little bit of a license I got, I want to keep. It just doesn't seem to be happening that way to me. I just don't know. I just have a really hard time with this whole thing. I just, as I say, Counselor, I don't think your clients get it. I don't think they understand that, they're part of a neighborhood, they're living in there. I think if my parents or your parents, any of my fellow commissioners' parents lived around there, we'd be outraged. They deserve a night's sleep.
Mr. Chairman, if I may point out, is that I don't, for one instant, stand before you and think that this police officer didn't act appropriately with respect to what he did that evening. Clearly, the individual he encountered, and his testimony was when he first, there were 4 people in the 4 or 5 people in the area. He observed a gentleman, speaking or yelling at 2 people inside a motor vehicle. Told the individual, clear out, get out, move along. That person chose not to do that. There's nothing in the officer's report that says, I observed him to be intoxicated, I observed him to be out of control, I observed him to be anything to do with something that my clients had anything to do with or any responsibility for. He was on the street.
Can I stop you right there? Why did your clients try to hire a police officer? I mean, nothing against this gentleman here, but did they try to hire a Lowell police officer to have a police officer on site? Do you know if they did?
For that evening?
Yeah, for that evening.
No, they did not.
They did not, okay.
And I would further point out that this commission has in the past said that what are they to do out in this? They have no authority to do anything to individuals out once they're off the premises and on the street, walking down the street. They don't have any right to go and off the premises and control
Well,
the person.
all right, let's take that scenario for a second. I'm running a party for my daughter, my son. It's under 21. I know there's a bar there, okay? I'm gonna, rent the hall from Zebra Corporation. And so I go in, and knowing that this is an under 21 party, if I had a policeman there and somebody showed up that was not invited to the party, it probably would have been a lot easier to get rid of that person, no?
Well, Mr. Bayless, with all due respect to your hypothetical situation,
Yeah.
okay, it's not relevant to what we're talking about right now. And it's not relevant because, number
Well,
one...
you don't think that guy went outside and got ticked off?
Well,
You
is
just
it
said
apparently-
that was the guy they wouldn't...
Yeah, he was there 2 hours later. How is my client supposed to control what he does for 2 hours? Second of all, there's no allegation that there was any alcohol-related incident here at all. The problem occurred outside the premises in the area of 547 Central Street. The Lowell Police Department, over the course of the past however many months, okay, or however many years, has a customary reaction to when there's a problem in a specific area, whether it be the Lowell Connector, problem with speeding, they put extra patrols out there. Whether it be downtown late at night at 1:30, they saturate the downtown with police to facilitate the orderly disbursement of crowds exiting the bars to coincide with the residents downtown so that they don't disturb those people. When they get done in that downtown area, they go to another location at the corner of Gorham and Union Street, and they saturate that area. And they put patrols there to, again, facilitate a business and a neighborhood for the orderly disbursement of things. They're not doing that in the back Central Street. The officer testified he was on routine patrol. It wasn't a result of a call from somebody. It wasn't a result of a fight. It wasn't a result of anything. He's on routine patrol, saw something that drew his attention, and he addressed it. He called for assistance. Another car arrived, and then shortly after that, a third car arrived. It wasn't every ass in the city, and it was an individual that one of the people that they're trying to say was my client's fault was at the corner of Central Street and Charles Street, 633 feet away. So I don't know how you can say this is it. They're the business. They're doing the best they can. My client called the chief and said, we want to set up a meeting. We want some help. The chief refused. What more can my client do to have prevented this situation from happening?
Well, like I say, my thought there is under 21, but anyways.
Did you call the chief? Yes, I did. You called the chief and he refused to talk to you?
Could you just come up to the microphone?
Yeah.
My name is Filomena Simeo. I called the chief right after I got the letter in the mail. And I asked Chief Lowell was not at the office, and I left my phone number, actually my cell phone number, so I'll make sure that I would get that phone call. Within maybe an hour and a half, someone from the office called me. I believe her name was Gail, not 100% sure. And she said that the chief didn't want to talk to me because it was a pending case in the License Commission, that there was nothing that they could do for me. Okay. Right after that, I took up on myself and I called the office on Lawrence Street, and I spoke to Officer Kennedy. And honestly, I had the feeling that he really didn't want to deal with me. He blamed it positively on me, that I didn't care about anything. That's how I felt.
Okay. Anybody got anything else? I'm going to leave it up to you to... What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we just put it on file.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 No.
And just, if we could, I believe the police department of the city of Lowell is an agent of the license commission, is that correct? Could the police department sit down with the Samayo's at the direction of the license commission? I mean, if they're our agents and we direct the police department to sit down with the Samayo's, they should follow through with that, correct?
I'm not 100% positive on that. I
Okay.
know they're the agents in terms of enforcement for you.
Yeah.
Whether or not
That was
they're
actually by a
agents
vote
for-
of the License Commission.
I'm sorry?
That was actually by a vote of the License Commission and put into our regulations, granting any police officer status as a enforcement agent, right?
I don't know, I have to look at it. I don't
Okay.
have it in front of me.
Well, just let me just,
No,
for the purposes of that regulation, which is right at the top of the list of regulations of the Lowell License Commission, it's always been my understanding, as being that an agent of the License Commission has the right to go in on the premises at any time in a 24-hour period, 7 days a week, to ascertain how the business is being conducted. It is not intended for the licensing board to instruct officers, unless it's through cooperation with the superintendent of police, the commanding officer of the department, to determine whether it's practical, feasible, workable situation where any one licensee should be consulted by the local police. I think the superintendent of police in this instance saw a violation of the agreement, as I believe this is the commission's consent, was between probation, however you wish to define it, that there was a violation of that understanding, that probation. That's what the chief has before you today. Obviously, there is, in your estimation, there is no violation. That's...
Well, just going back to Commissioner Arcasian's question, I think, again, they are agents for enforcement purposes. You're kind of talking more of like a policy type thing. You can certainly ask and recommend, but ultimately something like that would be the police department.
On behalf of myself as a license commissioner, I would like someone from the Lowell Police Department, if they could, to sit down with the Samayo's and find out or get some guidance as to what they can do to clean up their establishment. I think it's hard when they're coming in here and they're hearing what the police has to say, and then they're hearing what we have to say, and we're kind of acting as the intermediary, which is fine, but I think it would be a good idea for the police department to actually get together with the Samayo's, if they can. If they refuse, they refuse. They don't have an obligation to do it, but I think it would be good for the Samayo's, and I think you would like to do that if you could, and it would be good for the police department to get some sort of mutual understanding. And if they can't work something out, they can't, but at least there was an effort made.
And that can be done, but I can understand the superintendent's concern when there was a pending,
Sure,
you know, that's,
absolutely.
again, once the
Absolutely.
complaint comes in, you really shouldn't.
Absolutely, I
that's-
understand.
Right, and not in defense of the superintendent, but that's where the problem is created. That's why we consistently say to people, the moment you think something's wrong, call the police. Don't wait until a complaint's filed against you and then call the police and ask them to come and help you out of it. It's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. Okay, I commend the police officer. I believe you did what was right. I know that the chief has, spent a lot of time in this city trying to clean up some of these messes. And, it's kind of the old story of, and I'm not saying, Counselor, that it's just your clients or anything. What happens in a case like this, and you've defended enough of these people and been involved enough to know what I'm about to say, it's true. A place gets a reputation. A place gets a reputation, whether it gets the reputation for, serving a minor, whether it gets a reputation for selling drugs, whether it just gets a reputation for let's go down and have a good fight. And you know yourself, he's grinning, but he knows I'm right. And once that happens, it's almost virtually impossible to turn it around. It's like throwing a little pebble in a pond. It just ripples out, and you can never get it all back in. So, I commend the police officers. I think that it's gotten to a point of just absolute, frustration on their part, and I pray that nobody gets seriously hurt out of all of this. Every time one of these calls ends up that, as you said, let's forget the fact that maybe he was in the club, but it's just strange that they always end up in front of his club. Maybe you can go meet some and say, why don't you go down the club down the street and fight? If you're gonna fight, go fight in front of them. Leave this one alone. I don't know. I just don't know. Okay, that's enough said.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, yeah.
As far as the police speaking with Mr. and Mrs. Simeo, on the day she called the police station a couple of weeks ago, I did have a conversation with her on the phone and did make some suggestions to her on different steps that she could take. Now that this matter has been resolved, I'm sure it's the superintendent's hope that the Europa is not here again on any further violations. This is not an adversarial relationship that the police department's looking for with the management of the Europa. So I'm sure that we'll do whatever we can to help them out with some more suggestions.
Now, Captain Webb's saying that they did talk to you. Okay, you should have said that when you're up here. You're on television, you're saying, oh, I called the chief and he wouldn't talk to me. Well, you know what? The chief runs the entire department. Captain Webb sits here through the meetings. He's familiar what's been going on in your particular case.
I apologize.
He called you back.
That's my fault. Initially, I tried to get a hold of, and he knows because I had this conversation with him.
Yeah.
I tried to get a hold of Chief Lavelle, so I got a phone call back saying that he didn't want to talk to me. Then I called the office on Lawrence Street, which is, back Central Street office. And no one suggested any of this. I mean, I just put my head to work, and then I called Captain Weber. And I have to say that he was the only person out of the phone calls that I made that he was willing to talk to me. And we talked on the phone for quite a while. And he was very helpful, I have to say that.
Good, and have you taken into practice his suggestions since you've spoke to him at your business?
Yes, for instance, this past week, we had another birthday party there, and someone from Madison, Jose, was there, and I had put a request for a police officer.
Right.
And on my letter, I had requested that if the position wasn't filled, if they could get a hold of me and notify me, and they did.
Great.
On Friday around 12 o'clock, I was told that that position was not going to be filled.
Okay.
And then on, I believe Saturday, maybe about 5 o'clock, 2 officers from back Central Street, they came in to find out what hours were the party going to be on. And I told them. And about 11 o'clock, I called the station downtown to let them know that we had a party and that I had requested a police officer, a detailer officer, and the position wasn't filled. And they sent someone.
Great.
So.
Great. Well, that's what you got to do every time.
That's exactly
And you
what we're
won't be here
talking
again.
about. You should have said that right at the very beginning.
I'm sorry.
Okay? I mean, it's important that people understand that the department, I mean, the guys that are over there in the precinct, they're human. Policemen are, a lot of times people don't understand. Policemen are human. They really are.
Of course.
They're more human when we make them leave their guns at home, but they're human. Okay? And, they have bad days. They have days when, the job, they see some of the horrors of life that we never get to see, thank God. They take care of it for us. But it does affect it. So, I mean, if we can have communication between these people, rather than, as Captain Webb said, an adversarial condition, that's exactly what this guy's talking about. It's talk back and forth, get to know, let people know what's going on. You'll get along a lot better. Okay? Thank you for coming in. Next on the agenda.
Members of the License Commission, you have 2 additional letters of complaint from the Superintendent of Police. The first is dated March 30th, 2009. Allegation of misconduct against the Kampong Tom Market, Inc., DBA Appleton Liquors, Cheng Tel, manager, the all-alcoholic beverage packaged goods store licensee at 171 Appleton Street. Superintendent LaValle has pointed out in his communication to the License Commission that there was allegedly a legal sale to a person under the age of 21. This is a matter of, obviously you need to schedule for a public hearing. It doesn't pertain, this particular type of license, a package store licensee there's no provision in state law that would allow for hourly reduction, unlike a restaurant. So conceivably, you could hold a public hearing sooner than possibly the next item that's before you. Would you care to schedule a hearing on this matter now, or would you wish to wait till after I finish with the other?
Schedule for 8 for the 30th.
Okay, okay.
I have to recuse myself.
You do?
Yep.
Okay.
Schedule for the
April 30th, that all right?
Okay.
double check, but it should be good.
He's got to get out his blueberry.
The second letter from the superintendent of police is dated March 31st, 2009, and it's regarding the licensee allegations against the TR Enterprises, Inc., doing business as Al Rincon. Ray Serrano is the manager of record, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 135 Central Street. This is a all-alcoholic restaurant in which the complaint pertains to after-hours activity and the removal of alcohol beverages from the licensed premises. This is a matter that the License Commission could conceivably entertain a decrease in hours if they so wish, but in doing so, I would suggest to the board not have the hearing scheduled as early as the April 30th meeting.
Meaning if we want
You
to
have to have
give
14 days
14
notice to provide the licensee with that,
May 14th?
giving them fair notice of that. It requires 14 days.
May 14th.
It would not be allowed to do that before the 30th.
All right.
Okay, so
Is
you.
that something in the legislature that says?
It's
that?
state law. State law, and the legislature approved it, that they would allow for, in particularly like in neighborhood issues, neighborhood concerns, where businesses have excessive disturbances in the area, it may be justifiable for the licensing board to reduce their hours. But state law does not allow a licensing board to control the hours before, let me put it this way, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., you cannot affect the hours.
Okay,
All right, so that's for the 14th of May?
yes.
Okay, and if I may just continue for a minute, in regards to additional applications for licensing, which we require public hearings, we have an application, as noted earlier in this meeting, black page, I'm sorry, I think that should be back page.
That spell check, I'll tell you, do it every time.
It should be back page. Jazz and Comedy Club, that'll be a hearing for April 30th. There is a licensee in downtown, 76 Merrimack Street. The Hager Corporation holds an all-alcoholic license. The Olay Restaurant and Tapas Bar, Jeffrey Hernandez, the manager. He's requesting that his sidewalk area be allowed to serve alcohol beverages in the sidewalk area that the City of Lowell City Council approved that he may use.
Weather's getting warm.
Is he required to bring in a drawing on this?
There is yes, I have the
that part of
application.
it?
I will send to you application. I didn't have time to
No,
prepare.
that's okay, but he is required to give us a drawing.
It is on the
Okay,
file. It's on
great.
file. It's
Thank
on
you.
file. Vanny Noor Corporation. Vanny Noor is the president. She's operating a restaurant at 716 Middlesex Street. She's asking for an all-alcoholic restaurant license, all-alcoholic beverages restaurant
Is
license.
that the one that used to be the Rose that we had in here a while ago?
Rose,
Red Rose?
Red Rose,
Yeah.
thank you. Red Rose Corporation.
Okay.
Had a license, that whole matter kind of
Recall that, yeah, okay.
ended up in a dud last year. And last but not least is the limited liability company known as RNZ Company LLC, DBA Tudor Bean Wine and Cheese Cellars, Catherine P. Rourke, manager of the LLC at 58 Prescott Street. It's requested by the LLC that Catherine Rourke be approved as manager of the limited liability company. And I may just remind the License Commission that it was in June of 2008 when the application was first before the License Commission for a malt beverages and wine package store license, in which the local board at that time approved. But because of the principal involved, one of the principals involved at the LLC, Raymond Rourke, I'm sorry, excuse me, that's the father, Richard Rourke, excuse me there. Richard Rourke was advised by this Alcohol Beverages Control Commission that he may not have interest in 2 licenses under 2 separate sections. So he has to. So
no 15 and 18.
he's going forward with
the same town, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Is that it on the agenda? Okay. On the, what was the one that we had last month, Ryan, that was on, I spoke to you about? I think the decision came down and it was worded wrong. I wanted to bring it back in to straighten it out. The
Okay,
fellow
if I may just
but-
advise the members of the License Commission and legal counsel for the city that at a public meeting of the License Commission on March 26th, there was a hearing, I'm sorry, on a complaint filed by the Superintendent of the Police Office against the licensee known as Puff Inc. Claude Charlotte is the manager of the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 171 Central Street. And at that time, Claude Charlotte had legal counsel, Attorney Stephen Panagiotakis, and according to my notes and record of the meeting, in which I believe all members were present, I duly note that, after Captain Webb had read the police report, counsel stated that the patron stopped by after 1:45 a.m. That's counsel, meaning the attorney for the licensee. And counsel also made a point of telling the licensing board that Mr. Charlotte was advised by him that the local regulation does not allow patrons on the premises after 2 a.m. other than employees, and that was what he should be mindful of. And subsequent to that, Commissioner Bayless admonished Mr. Charlotte, admonished him that there is to be no arguing with Lowell Police, and this is the first complaint you've had against him in an official capacity. My record shows that the motion by Commissioner Bayless was the suspension of licenses suspended for 7 days and the closing at 12 midnight for 7 days to be held in abeyance, 6 months probation. There was a second by Commissioner Occasion, and Commissioner Occasion made a point of commenting on a police incident report for December 2008, but there'll be no finding on that. And Commissioner Weicker had no comment, no further to add to that, and so the vote was unanimous.
No comment makes it sound like I was being interviewed for a paper.
Okay.
So if you want to...
I read the letter. Did you read the letter?
No.
Okay, well, the letter came out, and it said that we suspended his, my intent, or my understanding of the finding, if it's, was that we were going to roll their hours back because the violation was after hours, and this was the first time he had a complaint for the 7 days and hold it for 6 months. I don't remember, and it certainly, I'm not disputing the secretary's notes, but I certainly didn't mean to, I didn't think it was, after I read it, think it was that fair for the very first complaint he's ever had to, there was no apparent, the complaint was not, serving after hours or anything. It was people being in waiting for food. And I think the 7-day closing at 11 was a sufficient finding. I don't know.
It was my recollection and intent that there'd be a 7-day rollback till, was it midnight? And then that was to be held in abeyance for 6 months.
Right, that was mine.
Okay.
That was mine. So if there'd be a way of, can we take a vote on that and straighten it out? I mean, I just think it's not right, we should do that to the guy.
I think that's my recollection as well. I mean, we could always go to the videotape, but...
Action, and I respect your...
I read your notes, see, that proves I read your notes.
All I'm trying to make a point is that it does seem rather odd that the way in which I wrote it and the way in which I heard it was that you were suspending the license for 7 days and that was being suspended.
Yeah.
And that there would be a rollback to 12 midnight for 7 days, but that would be held in abeyance.
Right.
That was my read and my sense of what was being said. And I hear nothing from the commission at that time that would say otherwise. So that was the vote that was recorded.
Oh, no,
if you wish to amend that.
Right.
Or,
Well, this is the first time hearing it. My first thing would have been to play back the tape from 2 weeks ago and see what was actually said, or compare it to, ideally there'd be minutes that you could go back and look at that everyone would get. I don't know, I'm not sure if you're asking to change the vote or revise the minutes to reflect what you actually did. I'm not sure which.
I'm looking to revise the minutes for what we actually meant it to be. We meant it to be to roll back the hours to midnight for 7 days and hold it in abeyance for 6 months. We had no, I had no intentions of affecting the liquor license. For the first offense of being open after hours. I didn't think that was...
Well, it sounded like everything was, my understanding from what I heard was that just now, based on Mr. Wynn's recalling or reading back the record, was that everything was essentially held in abeyance for 6 months.
Right.
And again, I'm not sure whether or not you're telling me what you actually did was not what you intended, or that the minutes didn't accurately reflect what you did. I'm not sure. I guess the simplest thing would be that you're just clarifying what you thought, again, because I'm not sure if you're addressing whether the motion was inappropriately written down originally, it's a Scribner's error, or whether or not you actually made a motion that you now think shouldn't have been made and you want to make a new motion. I'm just not sure which.
I think what the chairman is saying is that his recollection is that his motion was for a 7-day rollback suspended for a period of 6 months.
Right.
But what came out was a 7-day suspension and a 7-day rollback, both suspended for 6 months.
Then if it's one of two things, you can either make a motion to have to amend the minutes that would then amend the decision to accurately reflect what the motion was, or you could simply go back to view it to see what was actually said, and you can go by verbatim on that. It would be one of those.
So we could do let's go to the videotape.
Make a motion to amend.
I'll just make a motion to amend the minutes to reflect.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think if anything, it's our fault, I don't want for a minute anybody to think it was your fault, Ryan. Because I remember when I looked at it, I said, well, that isn't what we meant, But what we meant and what we said, Nixon said that. I know what I mean, but I'm not so sure that you understand what I mean.
I want to go into the videotape.
Okay.
Look, there's only like, 4 or 5 people who actually watch that,
Yeah. Anything else?
I'll send out another communication to
Yeah,
that effect.
rectifying it, please.
It'll be just a 7-day rollback of hours to be held in abeyance for 6 months.
Right.
Nothing to do with the suspension of license.
Nothing. Okay. Anything?
Oh, nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Coming home, Benjamin.